Harriet, welcome to Wealth Talk today.
Thank you.
Good to have you on. So Harriet, Kevin and myself have been speaking to you, and you're the co-founder of TitleSplit.com, and you are a very experienced trainer in the world of property and an interesting background. So why don't we start there and let our listeners know a little bit more about yourself, please?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Right, so yes, my name is Harriet Dunn. I'm the co-founder of TitleSplit.com with Rachel Knight. So my background is that for far too many years, I was a commercial property solicitor. I entered the legal world in 1993, which seems an awful long time ago. Worked for many top London firms, worked for some local firms. I even ran my own legal practice for many years, which was very niche, specialising in property. 2014, our youngest son got married, left home, and we thought that'll do. We'd always set quite a lot of goals, and our goal was, once the children were sort of sorted, to go travelling. So took the brave step, walked away from being a solicitor, which I'll tell you felt really hard actually. You shouldn't be so attached to your label really, but I'm afraid in life we often are, aren't we? So yeah, retired from being a solicitor, rented out the house, and we went travelling.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's wonderful and important, isn't it, that we reconnect with the why, because we work hard, we still do, right? And there's always a reason, and for most people it is, to have that freedom of choice, and that could mean to spend more time with their family, to spend more time exploring the world, and for you, obviously, that was important to just break free and go and explore.
Yeah, it was great, really, and it's something that a lot of people just aren't brave enough to do, and I just really wish they would be. We lived in Bangkok, which I absolutely loved. Lived in the centre of Bangkok for nearly a year. That was amazing. From Bangkok, we travelled around China, Vietnam, Hong Kong, Singapore. Came back and thought, it's not enough. And then we went to America and lived outside San Diego and travelled around America. Also, we travelled around Australia. So we were away in total about 2.5 years. Although we were away, I'm not going to pretend I wasn't also working remotely, doing things that I like to do, which was the property training. Because that was the beauty, was if you're doing anything that's not face-to-face, you don't have to be sat in an office. We had the rental incomes from our properties, but I was still working with people. I love working with people, helping them develop themselves, improve their lives. I was able to do it from a beach in Thailand.
Yeah. Well,
I can't believe I actually said that. I actually did that.
Well, it's, I think it's a dream many people have, but they ask the question, well, just how do you do that? So if I can just dig a little deeper then, you mentioned there, income from properties. So, what actually allowed you to be able to spend 2 years, outside the UK, and how did you manage like your home and things like that?
Yeah. Do you know what the thing that made us to do it was having it as a goal 5 years beforehand. And it enabled us that whenever we were planning anything, whether it was whether it was something within our business or it was something within our personal life, that we knew within 5 years we would not physically be living in England, working in England. So it's really silly things like when the car needs replacing, or if it's a lease car through the business, you don't go sign a 4-year contract because you're not going to be here. So you haven't got the overheads of the lease car. It's about planning and organising what you want to achieve. Also knowing how much we needed per month to be able to do that and make sure we could generate that income without being in a day job or even being self-employed, having to be physically in one place. So once you know that, and also bearing in mind that you tend to travel, most of us love to travel to Southeast Asia, the cost of living is quite a lot lower as well. So a combination, if you've got the rental income, which takes us back to TitleSplit.com, because one of the things is, I know a lot of people rely on HMO income, but that actually is quite a lot of work. So a buy-to-let income plus other income from other sources. So because also the idea that a lot of us, we enjoy working anyway. So if you've got income from something else that doesn't actually have to be sat at a desk. So it's planning that enables you to do it. And then you just have to be brave enough to just pack and go.
Yeah. Yeah, so really important point there. And, we find every day, obviously, we're both speaking to different people who are on different sort of stages of their journey, but you need to have a clear plan, you need to have good support, and then you just need to be 100% focused on that. And, 100%. just small steps, doesn't have to be crazy, just consistency.
What you just said, Christine, is something I say. I always say baby steps. So I've always said this. I used to say it to my children, whatever happens, we will get older. We're not going to not hit 50. We're not going to not hit 55. We're not hit 60. Whatever happens, we will get older. So if you think to yourself, I want to go traveling for 2 years in 3 years' time, that looks like an absolute mountain. How can you do that? But if you think to yourself in baby steps, well, I'll do this month and I'll do this that month, then all of a sudden it's not a mountain that you have to climb anymore. You just do everything in life in baby steps.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Now, I know we're going to get into the details of title splits today, but I think it's just interesting to kind of hear, how you led up to that. So obviously you went traveling, had an amazing time, you came back, and then, what year were we talking about then?
We're talking about 2017 that we came back, I think it was.
Okay.
I'm losing track of the years. One thing that I missed, so when I stopped being a solicitor, the thing that I missed most of all, and it sounds a bit soppy this, but I missed my clients. I didn't miss doing the work, I didn't miss the stress, but I really missed working with another person to achieve something. And I work closely with all my commercial clients on their development. So I was very much a hands-on solicitor. I said I'd walk the site, I'd look at the plans with them, we'd look at how they could do sale and leasebacks, we'd look at how they could particularly use their SSAS to create long leases. And I missed that interaction, and it was something, and I wanted to get back into that, but I didn't want to go back to being the doer, if you like. I didn't want to be back on the tools. I also work with another company where I do a commercial property training. I'm their commercial property trainer, and I love that. But what I was very aware of after the crash, after the Lehman Brothers went on, was I had a lot of people come to me to help solve their problems after they had gone wrong with property. And I always used to say, if only you'd spoken to me before you had bought. And around 2017, when I came back, I was actually doing a property symposium in Las Vegas, of all places. And one of my students, my clients, was Rachel. And Rachel was already doing title split. And she'd been looking. She did title split of one of her first deals. And she was looking for somebody to help her do it. And I said, of course, I can help you do it. Because what we achieve through title split is owning fewer properties which have individual units on individual legal titles that can be sold or refinanced at any time to the open market, but fundamentally is a buy-to-let portfolio.
Yeah.
So you squeeze the most out of the asset, but it is fundamentally a buy-to-let portfolio. And done correctly, it enables you at a moment's notice to say, do you know what? I think, say you've got one building, I don't mind if it's mixed use, residential or commercial, and let's say it's in 4 units. And let's say you never split the title, you just created that multi-unit freehold building. And you say, right, do you know what? In 6 weeks, we're going to lock up the house, rent it out and go travelling. And you might think to yourself, well, but we actually need to sell something to have the money. Well, if you have to sell that whole multi-unit freehold building, the only person who's going to buy it from you is another investor. And they're going to want a discount. You're going to want a quick sale, so you are going to offer a discount. If you've title split that, and actually you're selling 4 leasehold units, and let's just say they are apartments, you're just going to pop them on Rightmove. And who's going to buy them? A buy-to-let investor, a homeowner, someone for serviced accommodation. So you've just taken an asset that wasn't that liquid to make it quite liquid.
Yeah. And
that's fundamentally, I mean, there's more to it than that. There's the increase in the capital valuations. Of course, there's more to it than that. But, on our chat, I think it relates nicely back to that flexibility that it gives you.
Yeah. So just trying to keep it as simple as we can for anyone who perhaps is just new to this, maybe they just haven't heard of title splits or don't fully understand, well, how does it work? Who is this strategy for? Is it for anybody or someone who's already got some property experience?
I would say it's for somebody who either has properties, been doing it, know what they're doing okay, but they also know there's more to it and they're missing a trick. So there's people that actually doing property now maybe not had any training. It works for somebody who's done quite a lot of training and educational property training and has some properties. But it also works for people who've actually done some good property training out there, but have maybe only done one deal. And very often the reason they've only done one deal is because actually either they're probably very, very busy, and don't have time to go buy individually 30 buy-to-lets to get that financial freedom figure they need. Or it's a combination of the fact that they really just don't want to have the hassle of lots of HMOs. So the other way that you might have heard of it, you might have heard people call it freehold leasehold. So basically what we're talking about is either buying some land and subdividing it into a separate plot. So, for example, I just did a lovely consultancy call with a lady who's buying a bungalow. She's going to get planning on part of the land, and split the title. So it could be land, or it's a physical building where you're going to create more than one unit. As I say, it can be mixed use, commercial or residential, and you're going to actually legally split the title into leaseholds. And the other thing that we also look at is common hold, because common hold is coming and it's coming fast.
Yeah.
So so everything that we do through training and consultation is future proof. So we nicely transition from leasehold into common hold.
Yes, and obviously these are all things that you cover on your training with Rachel.
Yeah,
and
training consultation. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you have a masterclass, I believe. So maybe we give a link. Well, we can link to that in the show notes, but maybe just let our listeners know, what they can expect if they want to find out more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So our masterclass is a great introduction. It tells you more about it. It's over 2 hours, so you can really find, and it's out there for anybody really who's in the property world, either doing it or had the training, but just want to get to that. Do you know, I almost describe as the real life and the original training is almost like the degree. And when you're getting into title split, you're almost getting into that nuances of your MA, but it's for everybody. It's practical. It's really practical.
Yeah. And that's a free masterclass, so we'll definitely link to that in today's show notes, so anyone who's interested can jump on that. So, what kind of properties really lend themselves to this, and have you got any recent examples? So many of our listeners, Harriet, are property investors.
Yes.
They may be sitting on a portfolio that is just absolutely open to this strategy.
Okay, so what you need to picture is this. Basically, what it's going to be, depending where it is in the UK. So I looked at a lovely one last week, which was on the northeast coast, actually, near the seaside. And it was a beautiful Victorian building that used to be a care home. But it was quite small. I don't want you to picture anything. It was actually quite small. It was beautiful. And the rooms are big enough. So the secret is it has to be big enough. Or very similar, of course, the nice starter one is the shop with the top. The shop with the flat above. And I'm not necessarily talking even about converting the shop to residential either, even leaving it as mixed use. And then the other one, of course, is you can envisage the tall 3-story building where you walk in the main door and there's a beautiful staircase going up, that sort of thing. But also Rachel, first one that Rachel did was actually 2 terraced houses next to each other. It was actually just 2 terraced houses next to each other that became, I think she created 3 apartments from that, but depending on the side, it could even be 4 apartments. So it literally has to be something that you can have probably more than one access to. And or if you came in the main hallway, it's a big enough. So it's something that's big enough, really. Does that answer the question, Christian? I don't know if I answered the question there.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely gives an indication of people that perhaps have got these properties right now and they're just not aware that they could do something with it.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're probably looking at them and they're probably so mindset in the HMO, they're probably over focusing on this is going to be a HMO. And I'd encourage them to literally step back on the pavement or go on Google Earth and think, hang on for a second. Actually, if this was 4, 5, 6 apartments or even just 3 apartments, could actually I get a similar cash flow without the hassle of lots of tenants? Not that I'm criticising HMOs, because I'm not at all. Right area, all the rest of it, they're great. But we're talking about owning a diverse portfolio. You have to have a diverse portfolio. If I've learned anything being in property since the 90s, you have to have a diverse portfolio.
Yeah. Well, you've been training for, since 2016, was it that you began?
No, I've been a property trainer since 2004.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, thousands of people that you have trained in that period of time.
No, I've been a property trainer since 2004, and I've personally lived through 3 nasty recessions because my husband, we bought our first house, which we bought what today would be called a gifted deposit and option in 1985.
So you've seen, obviously, certainly in the property education world, we see that there are always trends, right? There are certain strategies that are very in vogue, and HMOs have certainly been one of those. And you see title splits now as a real opportunity, perhaps, doesn't it?
It is an opportunity
early stages.
Absolutely, because what people don't realise is the wealthy, the truly wealthy, have been title splitting since the 1800s. So if you think about it, if you look at Knightsbridge, they're apartments, aren't they? They're not houses. I mean, if you actually look at the truly wealthy going back to literally the 1800s or even the 1700s, they were title splitting. Anyone knows me knows I'm a bit of a history buff, but the leases that we grant today were actually first created as copyhold in the 1500s. That's how old this strategy is. And the wealthy just keep it quietly there. And they've literally been doing it since, the 1500s. And whenever I was a solicitor, all the way back to I qualified in 95, although I was a trainee in 93, I was doing this strategy for the wealthy all the way back in the 90s.
Yeah. And, on that point then, obviously, this is Wealth Talk. So talking about the numbers and the finances, just to try and again open people's minds as to how this can accelerate their wealth in terms of cash flow and in terms of capital. So, what are the various ways?
Yeah, so it depends where you're investing in the UK. By the way, this is an England and Wales strategy. It's not a strategy for Scotland because different legal system. Bearing in mind the other beauty about title split and subdividing properties in this way, actually they work very nicely in the southeast and the south, the more affluent areas. Ironically, you're not going to the cheaper areas of the UK, ironically, because your uplift is actually better. So somebody who's based in the south or southeast or just in an affluent area of Yorkshire doesn't have to drive or fly for 2 hours to get to their investment area. It's much easier to do it on the next door. The way I would look at it is, as long as your apartment that you're creating is cash flowing is around £300. So let's say your individual buy to let within apartment cash flows at least £300, then it's just a multiplier of the number of units in the block. So if we keep it really, really boring and say it's 4 apartments in that block, so then we have a cash flow of £1,200. And then it's a case of, well, what money did we leave in an ROI and our money left in the deal? So that I like that, to do it that way, because then whether you've bought a house in Hull that's cost you 100,000 to buy, but it's cash flowing at £300 per month, or you've bought it in Brighton and it's cost you 350,000 to buy, and as long as the cash flow and the ROI works. So our clients range. We've got a lovely lady. We're working with her on a project that's worth £3 million. But I've also got another lovely gentleman who I'm working on. His project's worth £150,000. So it literally does work for both ends of the scale.
Yeah. I think we've covered a lot of the key points there, Harriet. Is there anything else you feel that we've not touched on today which would be useful for our listeners? Yeah,
the other thing I'd love your listeners, especially those that are quite analytical, to look at, which is quite interesting, which is something myself and Rachel have looked at. If you look at the capital growth of property over the last sort of 20 years and what's predicting forward, it works out around, I know we have ups and downs, but you're looking at about 6% a year, really. What's interesting is that, because a lot of people do multi-unit freehold buildings, so they create lots of units, but they don't do the legal split, which means that property is going up in value probably statistically about 6% per year. I know it might be less some years, but what they haven't benefited from not doing the legal split is they're only getting it on the freehold. Whereas if you actually split it into legally, you get the 6% increase on the actual units. So when you go on our masterclass, we've got a lovely flow chart doing it. And the other thing that was, for me, was a bit like a real light bulb moment was, if I asked you, Christian, how often do most people put up their rents on their buy-to-lets?
Probably every couple of years, maybe.
I would say most people answer when the tenant leaves. So if you go back and look at the statistics, rents go up, basically on average, rents go up 2% a year. Okay. Capital values go up 6% per year. So if someone leaves a property, a multi-unit freehold building, so they physically subdivide it into units, but they don't do the legal split, normally what they're going to get It's they go out and get mortgages based on a gross development value, a commercial value, a multiplier of rents. Okay. But if rents are only going up 2% per year, when you're doing, every time you go to refinance, your refinance is based on the rental income. But your rental income's only going up 2% per year. Whereas if you've legally title split and you've got individual leaseholds, you've got a choice. You can either do the rent multiplier, or you can do a comparable, bricks and mortar comparable more. And if the bricks and mortars are going up by 6% per year, your valuation's got more on a title split property than a non-title split property, it being the same property. You've got increase annually of 2% or 6%. But if you legally split it, you've got a choice. And when you see the graphs on the title split, you're like...
Very interesting. Yeah. And I guess final question, what's the biggest mistake you see people making when it comes to title splits, Harriet?
Oh, okay. The biggest mistake I think is number one, not appreciating that you have to do it at the right stage, or you pay too much stamp duty or too much tax, and not going to a power team or having people around you who understand how to do it, and not understanding yourself how to do it. So you get misdirected by poor professionals. Isn't that awful? Be misdirected by poor professionals out there. And that's why I think education is so important, which I think it's great what you do at Wealth Builders. Education is so important, because if you understand what has to be done, you don't do it yourself. You become a very, very good manager of your power team, and your power team is your solicitor, your accountant, your builder, your mortgage broker. So you become the person with knowledge, and you're almost delegating, and they actually become your team. It's about education.
Absolutely. Well, a reminder once again for the masterclass that you've put together with Rachel. So we will link to that in today's show notes for anyone that wants to jump on that with you, Harriet. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us today.
Thank you ever so much.